Shall we start?
We shall start. Okay,
Shall we
everybody,
start?
thank you so much
All
for
right.
tuning in. Manuela Marcheggianni and Darius Majlessi from Isomers Skincare, Isomers Laboratories. This is Isomers TV. This is Cutaneous Chemistry. It's a series that we do every Thursday at noon-ish. We give a few minutes after noon to be able to get people to come and join us because this is a live presentation. Here is where we talk about the science or something very interesting from the perspective of the chemistry, cosmetic chemist, biochemist here. And he will share with you the wisdom, the knowledge. What we want from you is your engagement. We want your questions. We want your comments. We want you to, this is designed to help you better understand about the ingredients, what's happening, and how you can actually get the best, the most out of your skincare, and maybe even other things, like your nutrition, your skincare, your habits. This is news you can use in so many good ways.
Exactly. And, science is changing so fast. The information is advancing so fast. And I have to be very honest with you. Every time we try to prepare these things for you, we go back to basics and we put our knowledge on the screen, and then in doing so, we do more research. We want to say, okay, from the last time I thought about this subject, what else has been discovered? What else is new? And even that process itself, it opens our eyes, and we just say, oh my God, look at this thing. I didn't know about that. I knew this part, but I didn't know that part. So there's a lot of work that goes in these presentations for you guys. I hope you get a lot out of it, because I be very honest with you, when we were creating this presentation, my knowledge of AHAs and BHAs improved. And I'm going to share it with you because these are really
stuff.
Really amazing stuff. Well, first of all, AHAs and BHAs, they both have HA at the end, but the HA stands for hydroxy acids. So that's why I put the heading of this presentation as hydroxy acids, because when you look at hydroxy acids, the name then expands. You can have an alpha hydroxy acid, you can have a beta hydroxy acid, and you can have a gamma hydroxy acid. And alpha, beta, gamma, don't let these things scare you. They're just in Greek alphabet. This is 1, 2, and 3. 1 hydroxy acid, 2 hydroxy acid, 3 hydroxy acid. And I'm going to explain this to you, and then you understand what it means. So position 1, alpha, position 2, beta, position 3, gamma.
Isn't that like ABC?
ABC, but what I'm saying is
But
like
1, 2, 3.
It's just like a 1, 2, 3, like an ABC. So it's just a lettering system or a numbering system. It's that simple. Okay, so let's go and dig in. I'm going to start with hydroxy acids we just explained. So when we talk about alpha, so you see this part that I draw in blue. You don't need to understand chemistry. Don't get scared, okay? Just pay attention. Think about the colors and Lego pieces, and these Lego pieces have different functions, okay? So here we have a blue Lego piece, and that will determine if it's a hydroxy acid.
You notice that these are all the same.
All the same, right? So they're all hydroxy. Now, if you take the second Lego piece that I put as OH, OH in chemistry is hydroxyl group, okay? That's why we call it. So if this goes on position 1, the first one after this double bond, it becomes an alpha hydroxy acid, okay? If it goes into position 2, it becomes a beta hydroxy acid. And if it goes into position 3, it will become gamma hydroxy. Gamma hydroxy acids do not play a crazy role in skincare, so we are not going to cover it now. So we're going to focus on these two. But what makes it a little bit more fascinating, when we just now talk about alpha hydroxy acid, remember, these are all carbon atoms. Here is an H. When there's just a simple H, we don't write it. We just don't put it there. It's just assumed that there's an H hydrogen there. But when we are creating alpha hydroxy acids, in this position where this arrow is, we can attach different molecules, different Lego pieces, okay? So all of them have this simple structure, but then we can attach different things there. And as soon as we start attaching different things, the name of the alpha hydroxy it's going to change. And when the name changes, also because we're attaching different things, the character of the molecule starts changing a little bit. Think about if you have a car and now you put different attachments on that chassis of the car. The way that car behaves and how it goes on the highway is going to change. It's really that simple. All right? So now let's go to that. Now we talk about alpha hydroxy acids. So when I did my research, when we look at things, basically there are about 5 key alpha hydroxy acids. Glycolic acid, when it's a glycolic acid, it's just a hydrogen atom there, okay? When you go to lactic acid, you see that hydrogen change with this black piece here, which is, we call it the methyl group. So the difference between these two is just the methyl group. It becomes lactic acid. You make it a little bit more complicated. You add those extra wings to the side. Now the plane has 2 wings. It becomes citric acid. Now, you got to remember, in chemistry, just because you're adding more, that doesn't mean you're going to improve the function of the molecule. Sometimes it actually works the other way around. The biochemistry of it can be very complicated. So just don't think that because you put a wing, now this is an airplane that's going to fly really well. It's not like that. Actually, this one, because it has a hydrogen molecule only attached to it, it's smaller molecule, can penetrate better, it's more active. Then we have mandelic acid, and then you got a benzyl group here, okay? And then you have malic acid, which is almost a mirror image, so it's almost like they mirrored it and they attached it. So these are really the 5. Let's not get too crazy about the molecular structure of these things. I just gave this simple examples to you, the illustrations to you, that you just try to understand. Basically, the basis of the chassis of the car is the same when you're talking about all these alpha hydroxys, and then we're adding different pieces. And because of that, the characteristic is going to change, but until we actually test that molecule, we cannot just say, just because I attach this thing, it's going to do this. It doesn't work like that, because your body reacts to it differently. Now, I try to make things a little bit simple because we don't want to always go back and just to think about the chemistry of it. We like to have a simple chart and just look at it and say, well, what is this going to do for me? What are the things that I can expect from these alpha hydroxy acids? So, in general, they're good exfoliants.
Exfoliation,
Right.
Cell turnover.
Hydration, they're good moisturizing. Actually, lactic acid, it's part of the natural moisturizing factors of your skin. So the skin texture, how smooth it is, and the coloring of your skin, the tone. So texture and tone, they improve the texture and tone. They're antioxidants. They're not super antioxidants, but they act as antioxidants. They help acne. Some are stronger than the other ones, and they support collagen. That is a very important one. When it comes to alpha hydroxy acids, they support collagen. Now, when you pick a product with alpha hydroxy acids, there are a few things you need to pay attention to. One of the most important things is the pH. You don't want the pH to be too high because it neutralizes the activity. They need to be in their acidic form to do their job.
But not too acidic.
However, what happens if it's too acidic?
Too much irritation.
Too much irritation, right? So this is what you need to be careful. So if somebody comes to you, so I have, say we use an 8% glycolic acid serum, okay? Now if this glycolic acid is at 8%, 2 different products. One of them is pH 4.5, the other one is pH 1. Ooh. The one that is pH 1, it's gonna really damage your skin. So
burn a hole right through you.
So it's not a good idea.
Clean your
that
silverware.
You can't buy a product in the market with a pH 1, but you can go to estheticians, and some of them, they come and tell you, use a 20% and at pH 2, and that's a red flag. You're not going to do that because inflammation causes long-term damage. So remember, concentration matters, pH is as important. Now, this is something that we're going to go through this for you. I'm not gonna go into very, very detail. This is what our social media team is gonna create a specific slide for you. Keep it in your closet, put it on the wall, because this will be one of your best friends. We worked days to create and finalize this table for you, okay? And
Evenings and weekends, too.
it's very true. So I'm gonna kind of, let me see if I can, I'm not good with these
You
things.
can.
Try to enlarge it
Can
a
we,
little
can
bit,
we,
okay?
we can make it even bigger. Can
Okay,
we,
there
can
we
we
go.
flip this and make it bigger?
It's okay, that's
okay?
that, because this is good. So let me try to explain to you.
This is very
First,
cool.
Those few functions that I explained to you earlier for the alpha hydroxy acids, I put them here for you. I put them vertically to be able to fit things in. So we're talking about moisturization,
Yep.
exfoliation, texture, tone, antioxidant, acne, and collagen support. So these are the things that when you're using an alpha hydroxy acid, you usually can expect some results. That's really important. Now I list the five top alpha hydroxy acids for you, okay?
Mandelic acid is also part of that. For all of you who have been asking about mandelic acid over and over again, you'll be happy to know there's going to be a lot of information on mandelic acid, too.
Now, you see two numbers in each cell that has a percent in front of them. So that is, for example, if you want to go for moisturization, an ideal concentration range for the glycolic acid. Oh, they want me to zoom the chart. Okay, let me.
So you
just
want to
zoom
do
Okay, let's just go here.
this one, glycolic?
Right, I'm just going
moisturizing.
here. Okay.
Beautiful.
So we are just looking at
Let me
moisturization and glycolic acid. So if you really are interested to use an alpha hydroxy acid for moisturization, then you need to select a product that is between 4 to 8% usually, okay? So now this is the part that you need to pay attention. So then you're gonna say, should I use 4, should I use 8, what is the difference, okay? So the first number in bracket is the performance rating from 1 to 10, 10 being an amazing product, 1 being doing nothing, okay? So if you're using a 4% glycolic acid, the rating of that formulation, just based on the glycolic acid, say pH 3.5 to 5.5, is around 6 out of 10. The second number is the irritation potential, okay? So you want that second number to be low, ideally, and 3 is technically no irritation. 3 is almost no irritation, nothing, okay? So at 4%, it has a rating of 6.
Which is above?
Which is above normal, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Very low irritation.
So that's a very good number. Those are good numbers.
Look, if you go, now this is interesting. If you go to 8%, you only improve the score by 1, but you increase the irritation score by 2. So now, if I have a sensitive skin, if I know I have a very sensitive skin, and I want to moisturize my skin, I would go with 4% glycolic acid.
Over the 8.
Because over the 8. If you don't have sensitive skin, I would go with 8. Okay? So this is how you use this chart. Now to give you
But now that you have this chart, I can see something where I definitely would go way over glycolic acid.
Okay, so now, look, now we go look at the same thing for, say, moisturization when it comes to lactic acid. Look what happens.
Da-na-na-na.
At 5%, your performance is 10.
10.
Irritation is technically zilch. At 10%, you're still at 10, but your irritation is going to double. Okay? So potential irritation. You may not get any irritation. So more is not necessarily better all the time. You need to listen to your skin and you need to how it works. Now, I want to emphasize one thing when you're looking at this chart. I'm just putting percentages here. The regulations around the world is very different, okay? So in Canada, the maximum amount of AHAs that you could potentially use in a skincare product used to be 10%. I found out yesterday they have changed it now, it's up to 18%. Okay?
That was done in May, so
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah,
It was just changed.
Just changed. And I haven't really dug into it that much, but it surprised me. In United States, it's still 10%. So you cannot go buy a product off the shelf that is 12%.
They do though.
alpha-hydroxy.
I think they do have them at 12 and 17 and
But
20%. I've seen them,
doesn't
but those.
mean, Mr. FDA.
Yeah, but you gotta be
it doesn't mean you will not find it
Yeah.
in the market.
Yeah.
So okay, this is a very interesting topic. Let me just say.
Because you're
Okay,
speeding.
okay, if I drive on the highway,
Knew
the speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour. In Canada, it's 60 usually, 60 or 65,
Miles, yeah.
depending on where you are, miles per hour in United States. But that doesn't mean you're not going to find a car that is going 90 miles an hour, 160 kilometers an hour, but if they get caught, they're going to be in trouble. So I am going to leave it at that. But I'm just saying that what the regulation says and what you may see in the market is not necessarily the same. I'm going to go a little bit further, bringing that to your attention. When you go for glycolic acid, still there, and now I'm going to go to
glycolic is the
collagen. Okay?
Collagen.
Okay.
That's glycolic.
Now, at 10% for collagen support has a rating of 9, but now look, your irritation potential is going high.
Very
all
high.
right? But look, when you go to 15%, the performance did not change, but the irritation went to almost 9. Almost 10, I mean. So you gotta be careful here, pay attention to irritation, and keep this chart handy and use it, because it will really be one of your best friends.
This is very cool to be able to put this. Like, this is very unique in the industry to find this. We've compiled it ourselves.
All right.
This
So-
is Isomers,
Yeah.
proprietary Isomers chart.
Look, sharing information is the best thing that scientists can do. There's no, that's why even when we formulate, design our products, we give you the trademark of the ingredient that we are using. We don't just leave it at an inky name. We tell you we are actually using matrixyl. We don't say palmitoyl peptide.
Matrikine.
Yeah. We don't
Messenger peptide.
We tell you exactly what's in there, because you can go and do your own research and you can see where and why there is credibility behind the product.
Because
Now-
we're using the best ingredients, and also we know that we're also using it in a way that other people probably won't take those extra steps to do. So we could be very authentic in what is in our formulations.
Right. And remember, these ratings are based on our research and our data analysis. There may be some scientists out there that they disagree with us. I just want to say these ratings are not absolute. So now I have simplified this for you, and I said, okay, if you had to go between all those 5 AHAs, I said, let's pick only 2. And then for that, they want me to zoom it in, but let me just explain it a little bit more, and then I'm gonna zoom it in a little bit. So, okay, that's.
Wait, we're gonna try something. If we do that,
Oh,
then,
okay,
aha! You see?
All right.
Whoop.
All right.
Sorry, too many fingers.
There you
Move,
go.
move.
Okay. All right. Is
It's
that good?
magic.
All right. Now look,
Gemini move.
I put here the physiological benefits. So those are the benefits I talked about before: moisturization, exfoliation, texture and tone, antioxidant, acne, and collagen. Okay. So those are the things. And now, based on that chart, understanding the irritation potential and the concentration range, we say, what is the best AHA, alpha hydroxy acid, for each one of these?
Right.
So look,
What's the best in
when
class?
it comes to moisturization, your best one is lactic acid, top, and the second best one is mandelic acid.
For all you mandelic acid lovers out there.
When it comes to exfoliation, glycolic acid and lactic acid are the top 2. When it comes to texture and tone, glycolic acid, and lactic acid. Antioxidant potential. Citric acid goes right forward. So it changes, and then mandelic acid comes next. For acne, mandelic acid is better than the other AHAs, okay? And lactic acid comes second. For collagen, glycolic acid, lactic acid.
I'm thinking lactic acid is a really good acid to use.
Absolutely. That's why
Naturally
majority of the times you see lactic acid, glycolic acid in the formulations and sometimes in good combinations. Having said that, you can create a lot of synergy by using 3 or 4 or all 5 at different concentration. So, but that takes a lot of research, takes a lot of data analysis, and takes a lot of testing, because when you do synergistic design, your benefits may increase, but also they may have a synergistic irritation issue. So you need to pay, we as designing skincare ingredients, we need to pay attention to that. So let's flip the screen again.
Flip the
Was
script.
it this side up?
Right there, yeah. I don't think it
All
matters.
right, there you go. So now here, basically, we covered the AHAs for you. That basically, what are the things you can do to educate yourself as to what AHAs can do for your skin.
So you can really see it, like if you're really dealing with like hydration or anti-aging or acne, you can use this chart, you can look at the AHA that's more suitable for you and see what the benefits are. So this is going to allow you more strength or insight into when you're picking your skincare. So you don't have to always use a glycolic acid, you don't have to always use a certain percentage, or understanding that sometimes you'll use one, then switch it and use another one, and they're going to have complementary benefits for you.
Exactly, that's very true. So now let's get into beta hydroxy acid. So remember, alpha, beta, position 1, position 2. So we move this Lego piece from position 1 to position 2, and then where this arrow is, if I start attaching different things, then I'm gonna have different beta hydroxy acids. So now look, here is position 1, position 2, there's that hydroxy, that's the red one, and here I have a benzene ring. Okay, so that becomes salicylic acid, one of the best BHAs you can potentially use.
Probably the most famous, and the
Right.
ones that people will use interchangeably. When you say BHA, people go sal acid or BHA, like it's almost like
Right.
it lives alone as the only beta hydroxy, but it's not the only beta hydroxy.
It's not the only. And this list is not listing all of them, is like the top few, okay? Now, betaine salicylate is a salt form of the beta hydroxy. So look, it has a negative charge and a positive charge. So the molecule betaine, which is this molecule here, has a positive charge, okay? And then the salicylic acid can have a negative charge, positive, negative attached. When you have a positive and a negative, you form a salt. Sodium chloride. Sodium is positive, chloride is negative, it forms a salt, positive and negative. So this is basically the definition of salt in chemistry, okay? So here, betaine salicylate, this ingredient is not getting enough attention because betaine on its own is a really soothing, calming, skin support ingredient. If you use shampoos, I guarantee you most of the time, if you turn the bottle around, you see cocoamino-propyl betaine in there, and they take that cocoamino and they attach it to a betaine because why? Betaine has skin softening, moisturizing, it has a lot of benefits. So when it's attached to the salicylate, this beta hydroxy has a lot of potential. A lot of people are not using it. I'm telling you, we're going to be paying a lot of more attention to it after I did my research.
Definitely putting more of it in shampoos, that's for sure.
And then we have tropic acid and tretocanic acid. I had never heard of it till I started doing my research. These guys are way at the bottom. I thought I included in there, so if you ever come across it at the back of some crazy formulation, then you just say, okay, that's beta hydroxy, okay? So These are basically the top four. 99% of the time, attention goes right there. So what are the key functions of the beta hydroxys? They are exfoliating. They are pore cleansing. It's a little bit different from AHAs there.
Mm-hmm.
They are sebum regulating.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more different from AHA. They're good anti-inflammatories.
Surprising. A lot of people would not, it would be counterintuitive because it's irritating. How can it also be anti-inflammatory?
All right, that's a very, very good comment. We're going to get into that. Remember to ask me that again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at like salicylic acid, what is the other name that comes to your mind? Salicylic acid. Acetyl salicylic acid.
Aspirin.
Aspirin. So aspirin is a great anti-inflammatory, right? So think about it that way. The molecular structure of acetylsalicylic acids and salicylic, they're very similar. Now, they're antimicrobial, okay? And then they break down keratin. So these are really, it's a potent, the potent structures that can penetrate deeper. There are fat soluble, where AHAs are water soluble. So they go into different parts of the skin. They're more fat loving. That's why you see more sebum regulation and pore cleansing and all. And they penetrate deeper. They have the exfoliation activity at a deeper level.
In the pore, in
right.
the follicle.
So this makes it a little bit more, a bit stronger. So usually the most concentration that you will see is around 1 to 2%, even at 0.5%, they're quite effective. Okay? Now, having said that,
And this is something your skin doesn't get used to.
right.
Because your skin builds a tolerance to AHAs.
It can.
It can,
It's very
but
true.
not to BHAs. So they're always, that's why with an AHA, you will find that sometimes you increase the concentration of a formula. You may go to a stronger one.
Right.
Whereas with a BHA, or with an AHA, you stop using it and start again and it starts working for you differently. But with a BHA, it's almost like it's consistent, work the same all the time because of its fat solubility versus the water solubility.
Right. Now, there is the chart again. Okay, so we're gonna flip it. All right. Look at the range. Usually stops at 2%, as I said, because at 2% it becomes an over-the-counter drug.
Right.
Okay. At 1.99%. It's not over-the-counter drug. So you discussed that. It's a debate with the regulatory.
It's part of a regulatory issue, yes.
So let's look at salicylic acid. You want to go for exfoliation? I'm going to enlarge it again more. Okay. Look, for exfoliation at 0.5%, it has a rating of 8. At 2%, it goes to 10. But then look at, it goes from 2 to 5. It's not a huge difference.
Irritation.
But I don't know, sometimes you debate for 2 points. Do I need to go for 4 times the concentration? Especially if you have sensitive skin? I say no. Now, if you go for acne treatment, look at that. The rating for 0.5% is 9, and for 2% is 10.
Irritation is the same.
You just see, look, it's at 0.5% is quite effective. So think about that. Anti-inflammatory, you see a little bit of a more difference in terms of the anti-inflammatory part. When you go to moisturization, it's almost the same. So
you really don't need to go to a 2%. People think that 2%, and this is where a lot of people are working and building their tolerance or trying to use a 2%, and they're trying to now use it 3 times a week because of the irritation.
Yeah.
But with a 0.5, it's almost like the retinol. You can go lower. Microdosing. Go lower and slower.
Right.
And get better results.
Look, in chemistry, when we were in the labs and we had to, taking organic classes, and we had to, create a reaction. Say we were synthesizing aspirin.
Just say.
So
fine.
the the reaction takes time, okay? So the process, you add your ingredients and you have a refluxing system going on, you're heating it and things like that, and you're synthesizing it. So if you add catalysts, so catalysts are things that you can add to a reaction, you make it happen faster. Or sometimes you increase the temperature, you can make a reaction. Every time you play around with it to make the reaction go faster, you have more impurities in the reaction. So think about making wine, okay? If a good wine takes years to be created because that reaction is really going on slow. So if you buy all these fermenting ingredients and all these catalyzing ingredients and add it to your wine, yeah, you can create your wine faster, but the quality of your wine is not going to be the same. It's the same thing here. When it comes to your skincare and you really want to look after your skin, think of that wine, okay? That you need to treat the problem not really, really strong at once and shock your skin. Majority of the times, I'm just saying, there's always an exception to the rule, but majority of the time, people that treat their skin as like an evolution and not a revolution, they get much better results and they have much healthier looking skin in the long term. Pay attention to that.
So I think a lot of people want to, like, you look at your skin right now and you're like, I hate it, I want it fixed by tomorrow or by Wednesday or Friday. Like, you have this thing like, I can't stand it anymore. And so you try to use formulations that are more aggressive. What we're saying is, if you actually reduce the aggression, it actually doesn't slow down that much in how it's repairing or getting these benefits, but it changes the irritation like night and day with a lot of these ingredients, right? Because going from an 8 to a 10 in efficacy is nothing for results, but from a 5 and a 3, that's a lot for irritation to change, right?
Now,
you know?
I want to bring your attention, like, we will post the chart for you, okay? So you don't need to memorize it. We're gonna make it prettier and we're gonna post it for you. So
you'll be able to download it, PDF
But the only other thing I want to bring your attention to is this betaine salicylate. Look, your tolerance, the range changes goes from 2 to 4% usually. But look at the irritation. Look how low it is. 3 or 2. 3 or 2 is really 0. Okay, so
very well tolerated.
And look at
pretty good result rating
results,
too.
7 and 8. So that's pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
Right.
So why isn't it more popular?
That's a good question. I mean, sometimes sourcing of the ingredient. Sometimes it's just knowledge. Okay, it's just doing the research. Sometimes, you know.
That is so funny about the knowledge. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just made me think of something. Is when we started, I remember when we were at our old location, so this is 25 years ago, 24, maybe more, 28 years ago, I think. I remember, I think it was before Keon was born.
Yeah.
We were trying to do a skin pigmentation formulation, and we were looking at creating a blend because we understood that synergy of blends. And because of this way of thinking, we went into kojic acid, and at that point, kojic acid was only for food.
Yeah.
And people were like, what are you going to do with it? Because we had to actually go to the food industry to get the ingredient, to be able to use it. And now today, people are all using kojic acid. But this is the same thing with betaine salicylate, right?
Yeah.
It could be something like that it's utilized in one industry, and then you're thinking, wait a minute, but if you look at the chemistry and you understand how it works, can we not use it in this application? But it requires this kind of breakdown and analysis where you start to look at it and say, oh, wait, this is actually less irritating and equally as beneficial.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
We will be paying a lot of attention to that.
You folks heard that here for the first time.
So, look, this with tropic acid and those guys, let's forget about it because honestly, they're not that popular, they're not that extensively used. So the chances that you come across products with those ingredients are very low. But even if you come across those products, the ratings are not that hot, okay? So maybe some people may use it for a buzzword in their forms. Oh, you're using tropic acid, and it's another beta hydroxy. But when you have the knowledge, you say, yeah, okay, I've heard of it. It's not really that in terms of performance, it really
Well, it's
doesn't
more
outperform.
irritating.
Yeah, so let's forget about that. Let's go back.
The idea always is to reduce the irritation and the inflammation. It's always better to reduce the irritation and inflammation because you get better results long term. So you want to use an alpha and beta hydroxy. You want to be able to utilize them in your skincare routine for multiple benefits and understanding. I always say alpha is surface, beta goes in, right? That's why you want the two, but you also want the two more specifically because water loving, fat loving, right? That is important. You have to address both.
So this chart that we're going to talk about now, okay, what am I going to do? Is alpha, beta, can I use them together, and for which one is better for what? So this is where I created this chart for you so that you understand exactly where you can use this, and the irritation topic is going to come here as well. Okay, so alpha or beta and when, and then I know some.
And we're done.
So
Yeah?
look, I put exfoliation, collagen stimulation, skin texture and tone, hydration, antioxidant protection, blackhead treatment, whitehead treatment, acne treatment, anti-inflammatory. Okay, so AHA, BHA, you see numbers 7 and above, pay attention. If it's below 7, ignore, okay? So look where AHAs is very strong. Exfoliation, collagen stimulation, skin texture, hydration, and antioxidant, okay? Now BHA, the strong points is exfoliation, and then you're gonna come to some skin texture and tone. Then now antioxidant is still very good, but where the 10s are, look at that. Blackheads, whiteheads, acne, and anti-inflammatory. Now, we talked about that an ingredient is anti-inflammatory, but why you give an irritation rating, okay? So it should always be 0. You have to remember that a normal, regular skin can still potentially react to an anti-inflammatory ingredients in a negative way. So majority of the time it's an anti-inflammatory, but there are still people out there that they may react to it. That's why patch testing of these products on your skin is very important. And also the other thing that I didn't include in here, but it's really you need to understand, is that the other thing with AHAs is that because they thin your skin potentially more, they can, your skin is more prone to sun damage, okay? So when you're using AHAs at higher concentrations, please make sure that you either be very careful when you go out and expose your skin to sun, or you wear protective clothing or wear sunscreen. So do one of those 3 or in combination, depending how sensitive your skin is. So that's one thing that was not in this presentation, but please pay attention to that. Pay attention to all these percentages that I put there. I'm not taking into consideration the legal aspects of which country allows what concentration.
Right.
This is just purely based on scientific analysis. So if I put here 15% is amazing for collagen, but has high irritation, that doesn't mean that you can find a 15% product in the market. It's just for your own general knowledge. In terms of if you have sensitivity, if you have potential skin irritation issues, always do a patch test. Do not
Where
go
do you
by,
do a patch test?
There is no law for skin sensitization. So it's the same as ingestion. There is no law. 99% of people will take nuts and the category of nuts and things like that for nutrition and good food and things like that. And there is 1% that if you have a little bit of a peanut in a room, they can have allergic reaction, okay? So there's no golden rule that you can analyze and just say oh, you're gonna definitely have this. You have to do that your patch test and be very careful.
Yeah, because you never know what you're going to react to, right?
Right.
So it's really good to do a patch test. And here we're saying on the inner arm, like this skin is very good for patch testing, right? Or but you don't maybe not want to show people, like if you do react.
Right.
So this is someplace you can hide, kind of thing, for reacting. That's is that the presentation?
I think I'm done.
All right. So I have a question. Say I'm allergic to almonds. Can I use mandelic acid?
Patch test. That's what I'm gonna say. Because you don't know what.
Because where does it come from?
Yeah, but we have to be careful. You don't know how well that mandelic acid is purified, and also I'm not an expert with mandelic acid. I don't know if they can actually synthesize it in the lab. So if it's a natural extract, most probably, and how allergic you are, that may be an issue.
Yeah, but it's just good to know. So if you know where it comes from also, you should test it out. But I think these charts are going to be really fantastic because you're going to be able to take the chart, and when you're getting your skincare, you're getting your serums, if you see something that is a 10 or 15%, you're going to be able to understand what it's really designed for. So you don't have magical thinking, well, it's 15%, it's going to do all these things. No, it may be designed for something that is not what your goal is for your skincare, right?
Yeah.
So let's do some recaps. And I don't know if there's any questions out there. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes.
How is everybody loving? I know I have the paper, but just in case there are active live questions before I go through my...
Carla's asking, are AHAs or BHAs better for sensitive skin?
Carla, can I say, they're two different things, right?
But
AHA,
use
BHA.
the chart.
Use the chart.
The chart gives you the, but look, one of the things that, thank you for asking that question, okay? Because it reminded me to mention something. You have to, when it comes to these treatments, because some of these products are not a daily use thing, it's actually a treatment. So it's an exfoliation treatment that you do once or twice. So you need to pay attention to concentration, pH, and the duration, okay? So there are three key things that when you want to consider sensitivity is you need to consider concentration, pH, and duration. So if you put, I'm gonna go to the extreme so you understand what I'm referring to. You make a 20% glycolic acid, pH of 2, you leave it on your skin for 5 seconds and then you rinse it off. The irritation may be minimal. But you use that same thing and you leave it on your skin for 35 seconds, it's a different story, okay? So that's why that duration comes to play only for aggressive treatments. Because with skincare, then you all need to worry about is the concentration and the pH, because you leave it on. It's not a treatment like an aggressive treatment that you rinse off. With rinse offs, you need to consider the durations. In terms of the ratings, considering these three things that we just said, go to those charts and then you can make a determination. Usually your best bets will go with the lactic acid. I really like the lactic acid. And with beta hydroxys, go with the 0.5% concentration or use the betaine salicylate.
Right, so use the chart and look at the irritation factor.
Yeah.
So you want to have a low number for irritation, a low number. So this is somewhere where you can actually do a little bit of exploration and then decide how often you are using it in your skincare. Any other questions?
Which exfoliant do you recommend for underarms, bikini area, and at what concentration?
Underarms and bikini. So a lot of people have darkness under their arms and bikini. I like lactic, but let's go to your chart. So what do you want there? So you want brightening and some exfoliation, right? So let's look at exfoliation. Oh, we have
which one?
antioxidant, texture and tone?
Yeah,
Tone,
texture,
color.
Texture, yeah.
Okay, so we have 6s and 7s, 5s, we have 3s and 4s, so that's more gentle.
Right.
So that's going to be, look at that, lactic acid.
Yeah.
So you could probably go something with an 8% lactic acid and get a high rating of 8, but only an irritation of 3.
Do the patch test, but one of the things that I really like lactic acid is that if it's formulated properly, if it's at the right pH, which is 3.5 to 5.5, it's part of the natural moisturizing factors of your skin. So the potential that it will actually react with your skin is going to really go down. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it can go down.
See, what we're saying is it's part of the natural moisturizer. Basically, we all have lactic acid in our skin. You naturally have it, just like we have glutathione naturally occurring. We have lactic acid, hyaluronic. These are things that that are in us and part of our structure. So the chances of you reacting to it or being allergic to it is very low or 0. But reacting to it is still going to be about that concentration or the aggression, right? It's still going to be if it's formulated in a way where the pH is too aggressive or you're using too much of it.
Right.
Right? The
Exactly.
concentration is too aggressive. Because we all have it in a certain amount.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you go over that amount, the system doesn't like it, or else the system would make more of that.
Now, the other thing that is a good practice, okay? So say you have sensitive skin and you want to start with lactic acid at 8%, okay? Start applying it less at the beginning because there is a thing called load factor, okay?
Yeah.
So think about this. If I want to drink water and my cup is only, say, 100 ml, okay? So I drink 100 ml, I can do that 10 times, then, because every time the cup is 10 ml. So every time you apply it a little bit as a dab is 8%. Now, you put 5 dabs, you have put a lot more on your skin. So the potential of irritation gets higher. So when you start with a specific formulation, I don't want you to go and buy a formulation at 0.1% and then one at 0.5. Just start applying less of it, and first at the beginning every other day, then use the same small amount every day, then use the same small amount twice a day,
Maybe.
and then gradually how your skin is reacting, then you increase it a little bit. But gradual exposure will always, gradual increase in exposure will always help you minimize the possibility of irritation.
You know, a runner doesn't start running. A runner walks, then walks faster, then does a jog, and then starts their run, or walk runs, right? You don't just start running. You build up if you're going to do a marathon.
Before revolution.
Right. So same thing. So these things that you slowly work into it, you've got to think about having that process where you're
Absolutely.
building up to it. And I like to think now, and this is very new thinking in skincare for me, is that I used to think of your skincare routine should be twice a day. So what do you, in the morning and night, so you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do, and I used to try to do the same moisturizer, for example, AM, PM. Now I realize that I'm looking at them not in a 12, so it was like a 12-hour cycle. I'm looking at all my ingredients now as I've gotten older as a 24-hour cycle. Like if I've used my collagen peptide, I'm done for the day. I wait till tomorrow, so I'm going to use other things because this load factor, it's not necessarily going to be better. And so this learning how, and I notice that my skin responds so much better. So I am still doing I'm still cleansing my skin twice a day, doing a morning and a nighttime routine, but I'm not duplicating the same ingredients. I'm changing those ingredients up. Why? Because of this load factor. Because when they say gentle exfoliation, we mean gentle exfoliation. So if I were to do a 1% BHA morning and night, then now I'm double loading. So I just need to load it once a day. I don't need to reload it later on.
Exactly. This microbiome of your skin comes into play a lot, and depending how you treat your skin and how the microbiome of your skin behaves is very important. So when you're using very aggressive exfoliation, you really disturb the microbiome of your skin. And that's why in the long term, it may do more damage than benefit for your skin.